Greetings parents, friends, community members, and supporters of Randolph Public Schools. It's been 16 months since I started my tenure as a superintendent of Randolph Public Schools, and it continues to be very exciting. I'm greatly appreciative of this honor to lead such a diverse, intelligent, and committed group. We're on the verge of becoming a great system, and with your support, we will make it happen so our students are prepared to lead in a global world. The school committee has provided invaluable support and guidance, and the town council's dedication to the continued growth of our schools is evident in their approval of our budget last spring that included a 2.4% increase from the prior year to allow us to maintain our programs and staffing levels. Our town manager, David Murphy, is a proponent of our schools and recognizes the importance that education plays in our community. There are several state representatives, including Senator Brian Joyce, who is a longtime advocate of Randolph Public Schools. And thanks to his support, we have once again received the Parent Engagement Grant to really help us increase our efforts to build and sustain quality two-way communication with our families. In addition, this year, he was instrumental in RPS receiving an additional $60,000 to help support our science programs with a focus on all grade levels from K through 5. We are grateful for all of the support that we receive from the community. We've made incremental progress as there are clear challenges to the work, but it is well worth the effort as our students, your children, deserve our focused attention and most intelligent strategies to ensure they receive the best education in our Level 2 high school and Level 3 middle school and elementary schools, because our next goal is for all of our schools to be at least Level 2. This update will serve to illustrate the changes that have occurred in Randolph Public Schools over the last 16 months. Strategies that have been implemented to address prioritized areas of needed growth will be detailed throughout this update. Over the last few months, there have been an intense focus on ensuring that the Department of Elementary and Secondary Education's mandated Accelerated Improvement Plan is being implemented effectively. DESE recently approved our AIP for the 5th year. The 2015-2016 plan, 4 months in the making, reflects a great effort by countless staff, including teachers, principals, and central office staff. It's more comprehensive than it has been in past years, as the plan more clearly outlines the benchmarks, initiatives, and expectations for all administrative staff, school-based, and central office. The past AIP documents, although very structured, focused primarily on MCAS and its supporting activities. The past AIP documents did not address math and it only focused on literacy. Although literacy is extremely important and our students have continued to demonstrate growth, our math MCAS scores, past and last spring, have clearly illustrated a need for increased focus. The 2015-2016 AIP incorporates our RPS goals and extends the work to include increasing the strategic focus on math, overall rigor, and a development of critical and analytical thinking skills for all students so they can successfully compete in a global world. This is in addition to correcting weak operational practices which have impacted the educational program. My goal is to move our educational priorities forward with an increased focus on rigor, which includes critical and analytical thinking skills, literacy, which reading comprehension, and continued focus that also includes math this year. Writing, students will be able to create arguments to support claims and use informative and explanatory texts. Again, with math, we'll have more of a hands-on focus using multiplicative thinking and enhancing lessons around algebraic functions and geometrical proportions, and of course, being Common Core aligned with appropriate content for all grade levels. In my weekly updates to the school committee, during school committee meetings, and in messages to parents, I work to keep everyone abreast of happenings in Randolph Public Schools. This update will also serve to share more information on key areas that have been upgraded over the last several months, including key points around the business office's financial protocols and controls, human resources recruiting and hiring practices, our administrative regulations and accountability, our instructional and academic program priorities, and the communication areas that we're working to enhance. As I get started, it is important to touch on RPS's enrollment trends. Since 1979, enrollment of almost 5,900 saw some deep declines in the late 90s and the mid-2000s. Randolph has steadily held close to 3,000 students over the last 7 to 8 years. The 2015-2016 elementary enrollments of 1,430 are the second highest, down 1 from last year since 2007, when the overall RPS enrollments were a little over 3,400 students. This year's 6th grade classes are the largest since 2006, and the secondary enrollment, 6th through 12th grade, has grown by more than 60 students. It's true that enrollments had dropped, but minimally, in previous years, but the perception of recent sharp declines is inaccurate. In fact, we have been on an upward trend in recent years. The fact is that students have been opting to attend private schools, charter schools, and neighboring districts for well over 10 years. This report will illustrate several areas that may have contributed to some of the negative perception and possibly the enrollment decline of the past. However, the overall increase in enrollments this year is encouraging, and the strategies outlined below promise to improve all aspects of the school system. Here are a few points I want to share. As school committee and community visits, we conduct several visits throughout the year and have observed many classes over the last year in which individuals can see the excellent work and continuous progress occurring in our schools. Family engagement is a priority as we have increased the number of parent workshops to engage families in discussing ways to better support their students at home in math, writing, and reading comprehension. We're working to increase the focus on critical and analytical thinking skills and to support the education of the student in school as well as at home. Some of our key partners over the last year, we've worked to become more strategic in how we use these academic partnerships. And some of these partners include Emerson College, which are working to create an Academy of Global Studies and Leadership, which will be at Randolph High School, but also have some components located at the middle school. We're working with the Harvard University School of Education, which will support an ELL and literacy project. We'll continue to work with Bridgewater State with some of our mentoring programs for elementary and middle school students. Phillips Academy is supporting our efforts with student literacy and some potential professional development, as well as UMass Boston has been a great asset in helping us to create a data support system for the first time. Academic programs are being more supported as we're being more strategic in our data collection and analysis processes. Staff is being provided with more resources and guidance to better enhance the teaching and learning process. We continue to make progress on MCAS, on the SAT, and on the advanced placement exams. The graduating class of 2015 was accepted into more than 100 colleges and universities, including Boston University, Babson College, Howard University in Washington, D.C., Emerson College, Bentley University, UMass Amherst and Boston, Seton Hall, and Smith College, to name a few. In order to increase student achievement, we will implement more strategies to support their growth in a few key areas, including reading comprehension, which remains a critical area of focus, and we've increased the attention on writing in all subjects this year. Again, in math, we are working with all levels to ensure that pacing guides are updated and standards are aligned. Our teachers have been doing a very good job with this. We'll have an increased focus on the secondary level this year in order to get a clear understanding of our needs, as there was a slight decline in those MCAS scores, although they remain above 80. We're utilizing our resources to implement the effective strategies. We've made adjustments to appropriately address the void of a math coordinator that was eliminated almost 3 years ago, along with the science coordinator. However, after some adjustments and reallocation of staff, we're in the process of reinstituting the math position and creating real supports for science. A major initiative is the Academy of Global Studies and Leadership, again a partner with Emerson College, that will provide students for skills that will help them with project-based learning, independent and group projects created to cultivate students' ability to recognize the links between economic, political, and cultural entities that are transforming individuals and organizations. The objective for the student and for the program is to provide students with the knowledge and conceptual frameworks of globalization and global studies, being able to enhance their ability to critically analyze complex global issues. We want them to be able to understand international perspectives and communicative competencies. Also have an understanding of the cultural values and beliefs of others than their own. Develop exemplary writing skills necessary for the intercultural communication, Also integrate the study of world language with discipline-based content, as well as becoming familiar with international study and career opportunities in government, business, and education. They will participate in learning expeditions that includes their work in a studies standards-based curriculum while they have opportunities to travel domestically and internationally. Students will collaboratively and independently research and experience authentic living conditions, interact with local people, and engage in service learning projects while they are abroad. The target number for the program is 25 students per year with a max for the program of 100. The inaugural class is about 12 students as we grow over the next 3 years. Students will begin the application process and learn more about the program during their 7th grade year. Our instructional support is increased with an emphasis on consistency regarding our instructional look-fors and the specific teaching practices that we expect to see and be able to support in all classrooms. Our administrators are receiving more targeted support regarding how to enhance the instructional feedback to teachers that is quality and actionable. The new student performance calendar goes beyond just identifying student data. It focuses on the monitoring of supports and interventions and how instructional practices are adjusted to enhance student learning. Selected data points will be used as a way to anticipate and possibly predict student progress and assist teachers in modifying their instruction based on the data. Instructional practice and academic programming. We faced some challenges in that the science curriculum and materials had been limited and lacked alignment between the middle and the high school in terms of course standards and progression. The use of an online program with a substantial yearly cost had undetermined levels of effectiveness, as shared by staff, and our world languages program, consisting of only Spanish and French until we added Mandarin this past year, had not been a priority for the district and received minimal attention. Our instructional practice and academic program as we prepared for this current year, 2015-2016, we evaluated our primary academic programs, the associated costs, and the funding source for each initiative and how to increase the rigor in all areas. Programs including Keys to Literacy, Wonders, Flex, Facing History and Ourselves, Discovery Education, and others continue to be assessed in terms of their effectiveness in supporting teaching and learning in all of our classes. We have increased our focus on aligning and being consistent with our classroom instructional look-fors. We have identified specific instructional practices that must be observable in all classrooms. The attention on the quality of feedback to teachers during classroom observations for all school administrators is a priority. In addition, the new strategic monitoring tool implemented this year goes beyond identifying the student data, the raw numbers and the percentages. It delves deep into how supports and interventions are being monitored and how instructional practices are adjusted to enhance student learning. Selected data points are now being used as predictors to assess student progress and to assist teachers in modifying their instruction based on this data and is aligned to the instructional core. We also continue to assess our transportation program for out-of-district students in specialized programs. In 2013-2014, our out-of-district costs were over $7 million for tuition and over $4 million for transportation. To date, we have reduced tuition costs to less than $5 million and transportation fees are below $3 million. Over the past year, I've kept the school committee abreast of our focus to work on enhancing our transportation program. This year, we have been able to retain funds in the district by creating our own systems to transport students. With the reductions in out-of-district costs, we have been able to staff a transportation department and have been able to initially retain about $80,000, which is being used to fund our transportation runs as opposed to paying vendors well in excess of this amount. We continue to assess our infrastructure needs by creating a route provider, a dispatcher to oversee the vans and the buses, and checking on our initial costs and a coordinator. I know there are concerns around transportation for middle school students, and this is a concern for me as well. My team continues to assess the cost structures needing to provide full transportation to middle school students. At the moment, this will be an additional budget expense of approximately $200,000. Ideally, I'd like to absorb this expense as part of our regular budget. With that said, we're working to create a realistic timeline in which this could occur. The key in our work regarding reducing the out-of-district costs with the increase of student programming within the district to serve student needs. We're making tremendous progress as the initial analysis is highlighting the fact that over last year we worked to increase the functionality of the new website that was unveiled this past year, March 2015. We've staffed the position with duties to ensure information is kept current, as that was a challenge in previous years. I creatively used grant funding to support this effort, and systems are being implemented to keep the calendar current as well. In the area of business and finance protocols, there has been a lack of documented controls and oversight in several financial protocols and controls regarding the collection of funds at the school level. Schools have been working under inconsistent protocols and procedures that have varied from school to school and between offices. We now have clear, documented procedures in place, and all school-level accounts have been audited for accuracy and consistency of implementation of cash management procedures. The budget process, fairly documented in central office in previous years, however, it had not been transparent to all principals and directors, which led to the uncovering of many deficient practices. The 2013-14 audit of financial structures revealed that there was a lack of controls and poor management practices in the cafeteria program. This unfortunately led to deficiencies of close to $24,000 from school year 2013-14 and close to $14,000 for the beginning of the 14-15 school year for the lunch program. But our team was able to identify this potential issue and adjusted practices to avoid ongoing deficiencies. So by the close of SY 14-15, the deficit for the year was reduced to just about $6,000, which still requires us to do better. We are still working with state auditors to demonstrate that the new controls and levels of accountability were and have been implemented based on these findings. Also, while researching to address these inefficiencies, we discovered that a substantial amount of money that was collected for summer school fees at the middle school was not accounted for, in addition to several pieces of school technology. I previously shared that this discovery led to the termination of a staff member at the school and to the creation of a new internal procedures that were initiated last October 2014. To date, the case is still in the court system, and we're working with the appropriate authorities to make sure we're supplying the information that we need. Thanks to the work of the Finance Department, the internal audit helped us to uncover more ineffective practices and oversights in which a staff member had been incorrectly paid on the wrong pay schedule for multiple years, as their duties and their responsibilities were refined, but the salary scale was not adjusted. Again, this situation was corrected due to the internal audit conducted by the new Chief Operations and Financial Officer, which was initiated in August 2014, with the support of Human Resources. These findings by the internal, state, and independent auditors clearly illustrated that there had been a lack of effective operational practices for many years. These situations have prompted more immediate alignment between the Human Resources and the Finance Department. In past years, RPS did not have a budget guide to provide staff key updates around procedures and to help guide the appropriate use of funds or the required documentation. The classification of budgetary items had been unclear because they had been recorded on incorrect budget lines without documented justification. This caused a lot of confusion regarding being able to have an accurate assessment of specific areas in which funds were used. However, there was no discrepancy in that funds were used properly, but it was the recording of the allocation to determine the exact details of what the impact on the academic programming may have been. In addition, out-of-district special education services and transportation costs, which are a large part of the RPS budget, had not been thoroughly evaluated or streamlined. Student tuition, in some cases, cannot be reduced, but the transportation costs have varied greatly as there are multiple carriers charging a wide range of fees over the years. Some strategies that have been implemented based on what we encountered justified an internal audit, which again was initiated in August 2014 and led to the immediate implementation of those new controls and practices to ensure that all collection of funds and the documentation of all future expenditures had more oversight. To rectify these issues, I authorized the business manager to secure a firm to complete an independent audit to identify any other areas in which inadequacies or deficiencies may exist. We continue to evaluate the need for additional support staff so the implementation of the new controls, the creating of manuals, and the education of staff on the new protocols and procedures would be effective. In addition to the independent audit, the internal review of all financial procedures continues, and adjustments continue to be made based on the findings in the independent audit. Here are a few more details to highlight the work and the level of depth we've gone into in order to align our structures and practices. In the finance office, we continue to have ongoing audits again by the Chief Operations Officer to continue to work with the auditors, as I mentioned above, to ensure we are constantly improving. We have realigned staff, duties, and reinstated a position to oversee our more than 20 state, federal, and competitive grants that we have been awarded, which total more than $1.5 million. During the year, we will maximize these opportunities to enhance student programming by creating learning spaces and other focused programs to drive student achievement. Maintaining class sizes that are most beneficial to our students is a priority, and every effort will be made to right-size our budget to ensure equitable staffing for all of our schools with minimal impact on the classroom. We're already planning for next year and have been already evaluating these details regarding this year's projected needs in the areas in which we need to adjust, realign, or reduce or reallocate to maximize student services. The school allocation process and the assessment of staffing needs are well underway and will be based on school enrollments. This is consistent with other districts across the state and in other regions throughout the country. My focus is to positively maximize the impact of the adjustments to enhance the support of our students and our teachers. As we review all of our contracts, which is another area of focus on how we do business, all contracts within RPS and with outside vendors are being evaluated. Our process of writing contracts has been under review since last October to ensure we are aligned and are equitable. Human Resources Director does an outstanding job managing the multitude of things, including staff certification checks, background checks, contract writings, serving on the multiple negotiation teams, just to name a few. There are quality structures in place to ensure that all candidates are qualified and properly vetted. Unfortunately, there were some missed opportunities to recruit and secure quality candidates during the early months of the hiring season in past years. Each year there have been areas in which vacancies routinely occur, but it's clear that the information analyzed from these trends and patterns had been incomplete or had not been used to determine future staffing needs. Past budget timelines have severely impacted this process, as well as contractual timelines for notice. However, over the last several months, the HR staff has worked to thoroughly analyze subject areas that typically have had annual vacancies. These include special education, world languages, and ELL, which are areas of high demand, but unfortunately frequent turnover throughout America. We've developed a partnership with Education Week, which has a nationwide readership of more than 100,000 people, to highlight our vacancies, thereby increasing the exposure of Randolph Public Schools. Our new partnership with UMass Boston will assist in providing targeted professional development, among other areas, but mainly as an avenue to recruit future teachers, along with some other local and out-of-state teacher education programs. We are enhancing our recruitment plan to increase the awareness of Randolph Public Schools in the town of Randolph. Last year, we negotiated union contracts for teachers, maintenance staff, and secretarial staff. This year, we are already negotiating the paraeducator and cafeteria worker contracts. Again, this is a major undertaking and involves a large commitment from our school committee members, the Human Resources Director who coordinates and leads all of these meetings, school administrators, and various other staff who participate in the sometimes multiple weekly meetings to ensure there is balance and voice and the best agreements are created. Over the last several months, the Human Resources Director and I have met with the legal counsel to assess the structure of the current contracts to ensure they are consistent regarding the identified areas of needed consistency, and all current contracts are thoroughly reviewed and modified if out of compliance. As we continue to look at our accountability and administrative regulations, over the last several months we've worked to address gaps that were created by the elimination of several key positions, including academic coordinators, a pupil services director, which we have reinstituted, but coordinators and directors for math, science, and communications were all eliminated. The Accelerated Improvement Plan has served as the only guidance for RPS in the past. It has been a driving force for improvement, but its limited scope didn't include operational areas. The elimination of these jobs created a problem as the responsibilities of the roles were not effectively absorbed by other staff. This past year, based on improved analysis and oversight, we've reduced the number of students receiving out-of-district services from a high of 100 in previous years to approximately 70 for 2015-2016. This has caused a substantial amount of funding to be available to assume the transporting costs of students and reducing the use of many different transportation vendors. The oversight of the review of student routes and the possible consolidation of transportation services in order to for us to more effectively serve our students and more efficiently use funds is an area in which we are giving a lot of attention with a sense of urgency. Throughout the past several months, we've been creating official procedural documents and operational protocols for all departments. We've been working to overcome inconsistencies and a lack of written communicated expectations. The lack of clarity has impacted the understanding of the current status of the daycare program, which is housed in the high school. The program is apparently an expansion of the student-driven program created in the 1980s when Blue Hills Technical High School was housed in Randolph High School, and the number of students needing to access this resource has dramatically decreased over the years. The program is being thoroughly evaluated and all daily functions are being reviewed by the Chief Operations and Financial Officer. Unlike in previous years, all current staffing and hiring is done by the Office of Human Resources, who reviews and recommends all compensation packages to the superintendent. As there had been an extreme lack of oversight in all of these areas, including fee structure, curriculum, and staffing, I made a change in program leadership and we're working to make things transparent. The daycare program is now open to residents of the town of Randolph as a fee-for-service program. Again, as we look more into our accountability and administrative regulations, over the past year we've reviewed several policies and implemented clear and consistent regulations regarding system-wide expectations regarding instructional practices, curriculum implementation, professionalism, and school leadership. We've had an intense focus to increase our support of our school administrators by building their capacity, by providing professional development that addresses effective daily operational procedures and how all responsibilities are connected to the instructional core, supporting them by removing the obstacles that are impacting the teaching and learning process. We're implementing protocols to effectively support the teaching and learning process by enhancing feedback to all teachers. Like all school teachers and administrators, all central office staff have created action plans to accompany their goals as well. The increased focus on building the capacity of all administrators will raise the quality of support being provided to our teachers. It will also foster continued growth in the teaching and learning process. Our communication status, based on numerous interactions and meetings with parents, staff, students, and community members, we have worked to improve the communication to and from Randolph Public Schools. It was clear that our internal communication was sometimes inconsistent regarding written protocols and procedures, as they were not easily accessible and some didn't exist. We've worked to create several documents, including an upgraded Student and Family Handbook, RPS Goals document, individual school profile sheets, an elementary school information sheet, and other informational material that highlights our schools. We're working to share this with parents, local businesses, and external partners, and the community at large. We've begun to implement processes and procedures to ensure that all appropriate documents are updated and translated so it can reach all of our families. This includes strengthening our internal and external communication systems. Over the past year, it's been a priority that I maintain routine check-in meetings with our town manager and other town agency heads, including the police chief, fire chief, health department leads, library departments, park and recreations, and others. RPS has invested in a new website that is assisting us in publicizing more events and highlighting student and alumni accomplishments. The website has a translation feature that will translate text into multiple languages. Processes have been implemented to ensure that the websites are routinely updated, that it's more interactive and friendly for visitors. The primary focus is to ensure that more students are highlighted and school-related information is shared with the public. The areas that I highlighted, in addition to others, will continue to be the focus throughout the year. The information in this report serves to illustrate and convey the state of some of the inner workings of the Randolph Public School system. Together, we have a tremendous opportunity to make great progress by strengthening the infrastructure and building upon the foundation that currently exists. Although there are several areas in which immediate changes can be made, we're well aware that it may take 2 to 3 years to see true, sustained results. The academic gains in MCAS this past year were substantial, along with the higher advanced placement results. With that said, there will be more focus on increasing access to higher level classes with an intense focus on grades 6 through 8 to strengthen the academic rigor and raise SAT scores over the next couple of years. Along with enhancing the academic programs, the incorporation of the appropriate direction of the educational facilities plan to support 21st century learning skills will help ensure that more students are prepared for post-secondary programs in all fields. We'll be enhancing learning spaces to include science labs at the elementary schools, project-based and collaborative learning spaces at the middle and high schools, with improvements to the greenhouse, courtyards, computer labs, the language labs, and several other upgrades that can include many other creative spaces for students that will benefit them. We have great students and parents with a community that is committed to our schools becoming first-rate. We're not wishing for continued progress. We're implementing strategic processes to ensure that progress happens. I thank you for your time and your attention and for your support of Randolph Public Schools. Thank you very much.